Hey guys, it's Melissa and welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing a Love It, Like It, or Leave It on the Morphe 39A Dare to Create palette. Now, this palette was originally released in 2017 holiday time by Morphe, and it was a part of their holiday collection. I don't remember if they specifically said it was limited edition or not, but it was marketed as their holiday collection. Then as of recently, I started seeing on social media, whether through Morphe or Trendmood, and even on the Morphe website, that they have brought this back. They said, due to popular demand, we answered you. We are bringing this palette back into stock. So it is currently available on the Morphe website right now. I will have it linked down below. It is available. This sells for $34 and you get 39 shadows. So that's why it's called the 39A, because it's 39 shadows. Easy. And $34, pretty good price for a 39 pan palette. So they have re-released it, and I actually purchased this in the original holiday release of it. I do not know if there is any quality changes or anything like that to it, so I'm specifically talking about the one that I purchased back in holiday time. Now, the reason I purchased this was through the YouTube world. I've heard so much chatter with regards to Morphe, whether it's their brushes or they've released so many products now within the last year, but at that time it was mostly brushes and eyeshadow palettes, and they had these big pan palettes that they were releasing. Whenever I looked at them, none of them inspired me. They would all be one color or tone and then just have lots of variance within that one color. So they would have a brown, and it would be from the lightest of browns to the darkest of browns and everything in between. I think it was a 35O palette that was really popular, and that was like fallish, like warm tones, but every look you were going to get with that was going to be a warm look. Every look with other ones was going to be a brown look or a purple look. It was all one shade or one main color with just different variances in it. So when they released the 39A, it was around the time that the Jaclyn Hill palette came out, but the Jaclyn Hill palette sold out so fast. So that wasn't even, I couldn't even get on that train if I wanted to at that time. But when they released the 39A, I was intrigued. I was very intrigued by it. Now, this is what the palette looks like. And at a quick glance, you can see you have different tones in it, different shades ranges in it. And when I saw some reviews on it, it was explained that this palette was broken down into color stories. So it wasn't one color story throughout the whole palette. You had 4 different color stories. And then what they did is in the center row here is they gave you larger pans of your transition colors. So breaking the palette down is in this area right up here. It's an 8-pan color story. These are your neutrals. These are your browns. Over in this area here, you have your warm berry tones. So that's in there. Down here, you have your blues. And then over in here, you have your greens with some browns and then a deep black mixed in there. So when I saw this online and I saw people talking about it, it very much piqued my interest, and I went ahead and purchased it. When I got it in, I couldn't even believe the size of this. Like, do you see how big this is? This is my head. This is how big this palette is. And I don't know what I was thinking for 39 pans. Of course it would have to be big. I just wasn't expecting it to be this big. And I was really excited, opened it up. It came with a plastic insert on top that had the names of the shades in it, but I threw that out. Whatever, I threw it out. I wish they were names on here, but honestly, that only really appeals to someone if you do create YouTube videos. Like in the general of using makeup, you don't really care what the names of like colors are. I mean, it's always neat, but I don't know. So I threw that out. Now, I was really excited, tore it open, got into it, surprised at the size, and then I kind of looked at it and I took like a step back because this palette is a lot darker than what I thought it was going to be. And I don't know if the images online, if it's bright lights or anything, but I thought there'd be some lighter colors in here. And I'll try to post some pictures in of what it looks like on the website, or just some Instagram pictures or anything I can find of it, so you can see what it looks like. But what I was surprised about is like there's no brow bone shade in here for me. There's no lighter kind of, to set my eyelid. There's no inner corner highlight shade. There's no light shimmery shade, no light matte shade, nothing like that. This is the lightest shade in the palette. And it's actually kind of not dark. I mean, it works as a transition for me, but it doesn't work to brighten anything. And I would still even like a shade up lighter than this before a brighter color to blend. So that's where I was a little like taken back, like, oh, I thought this could be almost like a life palette, of a palette that I could get any kind of look out of. But without that, I can't. And I have to pull in from something else in order to do that. So that was kind of like I don't really like that. Then looking at it, I was like, this is predominantly a neutral palette. It's mostly browns in here. I mean, here we have a whole section of 8 of browns up here. So you have all this brown here. These are all browns. These are all browns. And then mixed into down here, you have quite a few browns as well. And for me, some of them are just so similar that it's not even worth it to have them in here. And I would have loved to have seen different colors pulled in. So I was a little disappointed there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to swatch some of them for you. And I just want you to see, like these, all right, I just did this one, this one, this one, and this one. So that's all out of the same family there. Do you see them? I mean, and I'm just going to run them right on my arm here. Let me get you in there. They all kind of just look like the same color. And with that, they perform the exact same on the eyes. So that bothers me. With all of these, that's not what I wanted out of this palette. And I was hoping to get difference of colors in here, and that didn't show. Now, these are incredibly soft. I can get looks out of them, but again, I always have to pull from something else, either for brow bone or inner corner highlight. And I don't know. It bothers me that there's so many shades. Like right there, I just pulled 4 out of the same 8, color story that look exactly the same. Let's jump into the quick tutorial on how I did each of my eyes, and I will, obviously I don't have the shade names because I threw that out, but I will point out to you which colors I used on each eye, and then after that I will have some swatches for you of the whole palette and then showing which ones I think are very similar to each other, so let's get into that. To start this look off, I've primed my eyelids and I'm just applying Makeup Geek Vanilla Bean all over the lid. I'm going to start with the Sigma E40 and going into this first shade here, which is the lightest in the palette, and just gently buffing this into the crease as my first transition shade. Next, I'm going to go 4 shades down from there. It's the middle shade in the palette. It's still a brown, but it's a little bit warmer, has a little bit more orange to it. And I'm taking this on a Sigma, I think this is an E35 or E25, sorry about that. And just next applying that into the crease. Taking the same brush, I'm going to go into this orange shade, and I'm just going a little bit warmer with the shades and a little bit smaller with the brushes, and just starting to transition from the lightest, taking it further down into the deepest. And I'm going to go back and forth here with, the shade I did previously, just to make sure all the shades are still there. Now I'm going to go in between these 2 shades in the corner there. They're kind of a matte purple and a matte burgundy type purple, and I'm not sure what brush this is. It looks like a Luxie brush, a Luxie 231, and I'm starting to apply that into the crease as well, going back into the orange before it, blending it out. I'm going to take that purple shade onto the outer corner and just start to buff that in there. Now I'm going into this beautiful, it's a hard to explain kind of color, but it's a beautiful deep mauve shimmer color, but as you can see on a brush by itself, it just didn't pay off. It almost pulls a little more copper on the eyes. But once I sprayed it with some Fix Plus, it applied a lot better, and I'm just applying this with a flat shader brush and just pressing this onto the eyelid for a metallic finish. Now, it's not uncommon that you can use Fix Plus for a shimmery shade like that, but like it just didn't pay off. I'm gonna take this beautiful bright orange coral color and applying that on the outer corner, but before the purple. So it's going to go the lighter shade, this bright orange, and then the deep purple. And now I'm just going back and forth into some of the other colors and just making sure they're all still there and they didn't get muddied up. What I was finding is when I was blending is some of the color was kind of washing away, so I had to keep going back and forth. As you see, I lost some of the purple there, so I had to apply that again. This time I used a flat stiff brush, going back into the orange to get that back into the crease because they were just kind of pulling away from each other. And then I decided to pull this beautiful magenta pink color into the crease as well, just for an added pop. I thought it would play really beautifully with the oranges. As you can see, I've got a lot of fallout and recommend you do your eyes first. As with the first look, my eye is primed and set with Makeup Geek's Vanilla Bean. I'm taking a Sigma, I don't know if this is an E40 or an E35, E40, and I'm taking the second color in the palette as the transition shade and applying that into the crease. Then I'm going down to the second to last shade in the transition row, and this is a little bit more of an olive green type of brown. It pulls a little more green in there. Then I'm taking this beautiful green color. Again, this is a Sigma E25. My brushes are getting smaller as the transition colors deepen, and I'm just applying this green in buffing motions down to the crease, onto the lid a little bit. Next, I'm going in with the deeper green in the palette. It's very similar to the other. This one has a little bit more of a forest green look to it on a little bit smaller of a brush, applying it to the crease, deepening the colors, going back and forth with the prior colors, again, to make sure that they're still showing up and just deepening the crease every shade we go. Next, I'm taking this beautiful, it's like a poolside, beautiful aqua blue and applying it with the flat shader brush. The color, the metallicness of it wasn't really coming out, so I decided to apply it with my finger and found that it packed so much better of a punch when applied with my finger. So I decided to go back to the other eye and apply the copper shade with my finger as well with the orange shade, just to make it pop a little bit better. I'm going into the next shade over on the blue side, and this one is a little bit more of a gray blue, and applying this as the next shade over from the bright aqua blue. And again, patting this on with my finger. And for the outer corner, I'm going in with this beautiful matte navy blue and applying this on the outer corner. It's a really beautiful color, but as on the other side, it tends to buff away as you blend it out a little bit more. I'm taking this dark matte brown and just applying it into the crease to ground it a little bit more. I just felt I needed a little bit something deeper in there. And again, just going over the shimmers with my finger because I just felt that they were kind of blending away. I popped on some lashes, did some wing liner. For the lower lash line, I just applied brown. I'm not sure which brown I used in it, but I didn't want to do too much color because I did a lot of color on the upper lash line. And here are your two looks with the palette. Now that you've seen the tutorials on how I did these two eye looks and some swatches of it, I'm going to insert also a little clip over of, I pulled some of my Makeup Geek shadows, some of the lighter shades to add into this, and I just want you guys to see what it does to change this palette, because again, when looking at it, it's predominantly dark, smokier, deeper, everything like that, and how just switching out, either way, some of these shades that are incredibly similar to each other and almost look the exact same, how if we would have removed some of those and added some contrasting type colors, some lighter colors and things like that, how it would have changed the look of this palette. So let's switch over to that and I'll show you kind of my suggestions and what I tend to pull in when using this palette to give me the all-around eye looks that I like for myself. So let's get into those. Here is the palette by itself, and what I'm going to do is cover up some of these similar shades, starting with Makeup Geek's White Lies, which is a matte white, followed by Shimmer Shimmer, a bright sparkle shade, and then in the Spotlight, which is a foiled light pink, throwing in Mirage, which is a little bit more of a yellow-based. This I'm either way on. And then in the transition shades, I'm throwing in Vanilla Bean and Beaches of Cream. I don't think it necessarily needs both, but one or the other would work really well in this palette. And then down in the green color story, I decided to throw in Pixie Dust, which is a nice chartreuse color, and I just think it brightens up the green. And I really like the way the palette looks this way. So we've done our tutorials, we've talked about swatches, we've talked about what I would have added into this palette to make it work better for me. So what do you think? Do we love it, like it, or should we have left it at the store? And I'm between a should have left it and like it. I love some of the eye looks I've created with this. I think the shadows are really soft and they swatch beautifully, but in the end, it's not swatches that go on your eye. So how they kind of blended out on each other and it wisped away product was really a little bit frustrating for me, especially with these two eye looks today. I have come across that in the past with some of these deeper shades that they do kind of blend out. They blend away from each other. And that's really frustrating to work with, how you have to constantly layer and layer and layer. I mean, on one hand, it's good that it's not so much pigment right off the bat that you can't do anything about it, but I would just like it to stay on the eye a little bit better than it did and not blend away so easily. I love the affordable price of this. $34 for 39 shades I think is amazing. And I love the concept of this palette. I love that they did 4 different color stories and then the row of transitions in the middle. I just wish, as you would see in what I added in here, is like some of these were different. You had like either a white to, you have the matte black in here and it's a beautiful black. It's so rich and deep and it works really well. But if they would have added a bright white in here and then some shades a little bit lighter than this, even some sparkly shades that were lighter than this, as you know, as I showed you, I think would have made this palette a heck of a lot better. And I think I would have been raving about it at that point. But I do like it. And I think it's worth the money for $39. That's still, I mean, $34. That's still a lot of money, but it's pretty affordable for the amount of colors that you're getting. You just have to know that there are some really similar shades within this palette. So is it really 34 shades? Maybe not. I don't know if I would recommend more so looking into the Jaclyn Hill palette or her Vault that's coming out. There looks like there's a lot of variation of colors in there. I haven't used those, so I don't know. But I'm not disappointed in it, but I am a little disappointed in it. I hope this makes sense to you. I just wanted you to know that as a consumer that there are some flaws in this palette. I am not a Morphe affiliate, so I'm not just gonna rave about it because it's Morphe, but I just wanted you to know there are some good aspects. There are some really beautiful colors in here. These greens are wonderful. I love these kinds of tones of greens. You don't really find them a lot. This orange in here is really beautiful. That's a nice look, huh? And then, you know, some of these shimmers, they're just really stunning. And if you pack them on the lid, they're just going to be so beautiful. So there those are there. Let me get those kind of, you know, they are going to be really beautiful, but you're going to have to work with these shades a little bit. And I just think as a consumer, you should know that. And to know that you may have to pull elsewhere to bring an inner corner highlight. I used my actual face highlighter, Champagne Pop, for in there. And for, you know, a brow bone highlight or something, that's not in here for my skin tone. It's just not. For deeper skin tones, it may work, but for my skin tone, it doesn't totally work. And I was just hoping for a little bit more. So I will continue to use this palette. I have continued to use this palette since I bought it in December or whenever it was that I actually purchased it. And I've been happy with my looks, but I don't love it, and I just wish it had a little bit more. So those are my thoughts and feelings on the Morphe 39A Dare to Create palette. I hope you guys enjoyed this Love It, Like It, or Leave It. If there is anything that you would like me to review and see if I loved it, liked it, or should have left it at the store, please leave it in the comments down below. And I appreciate you spending some time with me. If you liked what you saw, please hit that subscribe button and stick around for a while. Be sure to also hit the notification bell and get all those notifications because I am on no kind of recording schedule and I upload whenever I can. Thank you guys so very much. Just remember, it's makeup, have fun, and be your own kind of beautiful. Till next time, bye.